Hello, I'm Pastor Chris Morgan. Thank you for tuning in to today's current events in the world we are living in. Today, I have an interesting topic that is supposedly affecting the world that we're living in. Maybe the better question that we should be asking is it really? And that topic is climate change. The WHO, or the World Health Organization, calls climate change the greatest threat to global health in the 21st century. According to the UN, climate change refers to the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, but their claim is that since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas, which produces heat-trapping gases. And the UN says climate change is the defining issue of our time, and we are at a defining moment in history. As you probably already know, the World Economic Forum and its Agenda 2030, the UN and the World Health Organization, along with the global elite, are calling for a global reset or a global redesign. There is a goal. It is a new world order for global dominance and control. Today, one of the ways the world is being primed and made ready for all of this is through the deceptive hoax of climate change. So why the big push of climate change, or as you've heard it called, part of it, the New Green Deal? Well, the New Green Deal calls for public policy to address climate change issues, but really that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's not all. Achieving other social aims like job creation and reducing economic inequality sounds great to the average person until you dive deeper and it's defined. It's a plan that actually calls for social and economic reforms. That's really deceptive language, which really means social globalism itself. So climate change in the New Green Deal is really all smoke and mirrors for a much bigger World Economic Forum agenda of global governance. Under the guise of climate change, the World Economic Forum uses the environment to promote the micromanage of human behavior. And as you're about to see, the plan is to develop an individual carbon footprint tracker to monitor what you buy, what you eat, where you go, and how you travel. Watch this video.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Hopefully from that, you can see what this is really all about, a plan of global governance and control. Remember when it was called global warming? So why the change all of a sudden to climate change in just the last few years? Well, here's why. The planet has cooled by 7 degrees in the past century, and global warming advocates got caught by their own science. Here's another inconvenient truth for the globalists. Arctic ice is at a 30-year high, and sea melt last summer was the lowest in 15 years. If climate activists were allowed, they would take us from COVID lockdowns straight into climate lockdowns under the guise of public health. They would use a climate emergency to achieve the same sort of control over us they did during COVID. The propaganda that humans cause the climate change scenario that is being presented is simply a falsehood for their real agenda, and that is control and world takeover. So let's talk about carbon footprint 1 minute. That means the total greenhouse gas emissions caused by individuals. Therefore, they claim climate change is a crisis made by human beings and their carbon footprint. Now, let's think about this. In Professor Ian Plimer's book, where does carbon dioxide really come from? He states the carbon dioxide that we're trying to suppress is a vital chemical compound that every plant requires to live, grow, and synthesize into the oxygen for us humans in all human life. Consider this: the volcano ash emitted into the Earth's atmosphere in just 4 days by the volcano in Iceland in March 2021 has totally erased every single effort man has made to reduce the evil beast of carbon. Or consider when Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines in 1991, it spewed out more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere than the entire human race had emitted in all its years on the earth. So why aren't we really following real science? Why all the propaganda and push for climate change? Because the new Green Deal, which addresses or is about climate change, is really about world socialism and part of the New World Order. And big money is behind the propaganda for a New World Order. This leads people to fight for causes that either don't exist or not the real problem anyway. From this, hopefully you're able to see the real agenda and where this is leading people into a dark place that will give it what it's been deceived into believing that it really needs. But this is just a part of the plan of a New World Order, which the Scripture tells us will ultimately lead to a one world government, a one world digital currency, and ultimately to a world dictator revealed in Revelation 6:2 and in Revelation 13, known as the beast of the book of Revelation, or the Antichrist. Now, this is what's important. The real climate change that we are to be concerned about, the Scripture tells us. Now, the climate change that we've been talking about is not the one we need to be concerned about, but there is a real climate change that we should be aware of. And Jesus Christ, the head of the church, warns us of the real climate change that we should be aware of and protect ourselves against. And it is a spiritual climate change. So let me talk about that for a moment. This climate change is one that will lack God's love and be filled with deception, lawlessness, and be driven by the fear of all things coming upon the earth. Jesus in Matthew 24 warns us 3 times about the number one sign before he returns, and that is deception. Matthew 24, verse 4, verse 11, and 24, Jesus warns us about deception. And then in Matthew 24, verse 12, Jesus warns us of the coming climate change, but it's spiritual. He said, the love of many will wax cold. That word many there means the love of multitudes will grow cold. The result will be this: the love for God and others will grow cold. Satan goes after our love because love affects our faith in God. This is the real and only climate change that we should be concerned about. So in leaving and closing today, what should we do? As believers, what should we do? Number 1, get into the Bible and know the truth so you're not fooled by all today's propaganda that is being pushed upon the world. Number 2, we need to seek God and pray earnestly. We win battles on our knees. Number 3, make sure that we're staying in the love of God and that our faith is strong and working. Number 4, be a difference maker. Encourage others and win the lost. And number 5, share this with others so others will know the truth as well. Well, I'm Pastor Chris Morgan. Thank you for tuning in to this week's current events in the world we're living in. I call you blessed.